Hey everyone, Joe Newell, DanRiverSports.com, and we are just about 24 hours away from the second round, the regional semifinals of playoffs in the Virginia High School League. And we still got two teams going at it tomorrow night. We've got Gretna hosting Floyd County in Region 2C, and we've got GW hosting Sherando in Region 4D. To get you started, we're going to talk about Region 2C. Floyd County, the third seed, coming in, taking on number 2 seed Gretna. Floyd comes in at 8-3, Gretna at 9-2. Floyd defeated James River last week, 26-21, and Gretna defeated Dan River 57-14. Now, last time these two met was in 2023, and Gretna won 28-27 in the playoffs. So not a ton of history there, but nonetheless, you don't have to go back but a couple of years to see a tooth and nail battle in the playoffs between these two squads. If you look at Floyd County, if we're looking at like best wins and key losses, best wins right now probably look like Class 3 Blacksburg, who just lost to GW in the first round. They beat Blacksburg 33-20. And then, as I mentioned a moment ago, they played James River. They've beaten James River twice, once in the regular season and once in the playoffs. Now, I think maybe key losses will give us a little bit more idea too there. Same thing when we get to Sherando and 4D. Key losses to Class 3 Carroll County, 49-50 or 52-49, just by 3 points. They also lost to Radford, who's playing Glenver tomorrow night in the other semifinal game, 44-21, and then closed out the season with a 24-6 loss to Glenver, who I think, Hawk fans, I'm 100% in your corner tomorrow night. But Glenver at the moment looks to be the front runner in Region 2C. And if you look at that 24-6 score, you might be thinking, whoa, wait a minute. Nobody else has played Glenver that close, and they haven't. But star quarterback Brady Doyot went down in the first half of that game against Floyd, and they still won 24-6, if that means anything. So, I think Floyd's going to be a run-first team. It's not that they can't mix in the pass. They can. But if I was playing against Gretna, I think that would be the thing that I would focus on. They come in averaging 29 points, a little over 29 points per game, but they're also giving up 24 points per game. So there's only about a 5-point differential there. So you can imagine they've been in some tight games. And so they're not blowing opponents out. And but they're obviously quality team. They're going to run the ball first. Not that they won't throw it, as I mentioned, but they're going to press and lean on the Hawks, I think, a little bit. Gretna comes in. Their best wins are arguably against Appomattox. Even though the first half of that game was a bit of a struggle for them, they did win 30-22, and they opened in the second game of the season. They beat Bassett 48-41. And when you look at losses, they opened the season against Class 4 Jefferson Forest, and that was their first loss of the year. Man, Jefferson Forest is an excellent team and a much bigger school. And then their other loss, of course, was the end of the regular season to Alta Vista, 48-47. They're up by 12 with just over 3 minutes left before Alta Vista kicked an onside kick and then eventually scored the winning touchdown. I think if that game's replayed, again, no offense to the Colonels, but I think the Hawks probably win that game if it was replayed. When we look at key players for Gretna, of course, everything starts and finishes with senior quarterback Rayshawn Logan, who comes in with a 64% completion rate, almost 2,700 passing yards at 26.95, and a touchdown to interception ratio that's really good of 36 touchdowns to just 5 picks. And this year they've also run him a bit more intentionally, not just scrambling, and that's translated to 76 carries for 642 yards and 13 more scores. So if you can do the math, Logan's been involved in 49 touchdowns for the Hawks, but he's not the only one running the ball. Coach Sean Miller likes to have a balanced attack, and I think they do have that this year. Khalil Waller leads our area in terms of Danville and Pennsylvania County in rushing with 14-15. He's got 12 touchdowns and averaging a little over 8 yards per carry. And then, of course, that receiving core, I think, is the envy of most of Class 2. 5 different Hawks have caught at least 2 touchdown passes this season. The top 3, though, for them are Tyson Miller, sophomore, 54 catches for 871 yards and 10 touchdowns. Braden Breedlove, 39 catches, almost just a yard shy of 600 yards and 8 more scores. And then a little bit of a surprise this year, sophomore Jamarion Jones-Carter, who has 27 catches for 355 and 5 touchdowns. He did not play against Dan River. I talked to him briefly on the sidelines. I don't know the specific nature of his injury and where he's going to be at. But from what I saw, I expect he'd probably be back for this game against Floyd County. So what are the keys going to be to this game? Well, I think Gretna has to start fast and play 4 quarters. If you look back at the Appomattox game and also the Dan River game, Appomattox, they were down 22-0 at the half before outscoring the Raiders 30-0 in the second. Against Dan River in the regular season, they were down 28-21 in the first half before outscoring the Wildcats 35-0 in the second half. And then, of course, the Alta Vista game where they had a 12-point lead with 3 minutes left. If they can, I talked to Coach Sean Miller a few weeks back about this. He doesn't think yet they've played a full game. I think I would agree with that. If they can put together a whole game, I think it's going to be a really good night for them tomorrow night against Floyd. I think also defensively, they're going to have to contain the run, meaning that they don't give up explosive plays and they don't let Floyd just eat clock and grind it out 3-4 yards at a time. Like I said before, they can throw it a bit. But if you look at the 3 games in which Gretna's opponents ran for at least 200 yards, they're 1-2 in those games. And the one they won was against Bassett, and they had to come back at the very tail end to win 48-41. So I think the keys here are start fast, play a full game, and I think besides minimizing turnovers, don't take your foot off the gas. If Gretna gets up, I would love to see them, man, just keep coming all night long and put this game away if they possibly can. But Floyd's very capable of winning this game. I would give the edge to Gretna. I'm not going to put a prediction on the score, but, man, they're going to have to earn it out there Friday night. Then we switch over to Region 4D. Sherando is the number 4 seed and GW number 1. But when you look at this 4D bracket, I'll be honest, when you look at GW, Sherando, Handley, and Jefferson Forest, there's not a ton of separation between these 4 teams. They're all very good. They're all battle-tested. They're all physical football teams. And so, when you look at the seedings, it doesn't necessarily tell the story. And kind of like looking at Floyd, when you look at Sherando, I don't know that their win-loss record tells you what really happened in their season either. I'll just pause here for a second to say Sherando is actually the reigning 4D regional champs. They beat Salem last year in the regional championship after having already dispatched Jefferson Forest and James Wood as they finished 12-2 before losing to, I believe, Phoebus in the semifinals. And those last 2 games were by 6 points or less. I point that out to say Sherando's been in tight games against really good football teams, and they find a way to win. They find a way to fight all the way to the end, even this year. Their best wins this year are arguably 2 wins against James Wood, both regular season and playoffs. But their losses, again, I think really tell the story. Their 3 losses are against number 1 seed Loudoun County. That's a Class 4 team who's 10-1. They lost 14-15 by 1 point. Secondly, the number 1 seed in Class 3, Kettle Run, who's also 10-1. They lost 14-7 in that game. And then number 2, Handley, who's in Region 4D with them, they lost 14-7 there. So really tight ball games. Their 3 losses, I mean, they could have easily won all 3 of those games. They are right there with those teams that are like 10-1 and top seeds in their regions. They're going to mix the run and pass. I think they can do both fairly well. I do think, like most teams, they're run first. Quarterback's very, very nimble. He will scramble. They will bootleg him out. They'll run play action to suck the linebackers up. They'll leak the tight ends out down the seam, something GW at times has had issues picking up. Whoever is assigned to reading the tight end, or tight ends plural, will have to make sure they read the release off the line and then read either run or pass correctly. I think that's really going to be important. And they're also, Sherando's physical. GW's physical, yes, so is Sherando. I mean, you just get to Class 4 this time of year, you got good teams everywhere. GW's best wins, you could argue the season closer against Magna Vista when they went into double overtime to beat the Warriors for the Piedmont District Championship. Of course, Magna Vista now it's sitting at 10-1 after a first-round win. They're number 1 in Region 3D. They also got a really quality win against William Fleming, who's the number 3 seed in Class 5. They're 8-3, and Class 3, number 2, Lord Botetourt as well. These are all wins for GW. Their one loss, of course, was the season opener against North Carolina Power Reidsville, who's won 23 state titles down in North Carolina and looked like they could possibly win number 24 this year. So both Sherando and GW have played high-quality schedules, and they've come out of them with good records and on top. So, playing against each other Friday night, they'll be ready. They'll be ready. In terms of GW, everybody knows the style they're gonna take. Yes, they've been trying to mix in the pass a little bit more in the last number of weeks. They have to be able to keep defenses honest. They're going to run, though, and they're going to run some more. They've run 448 times this year for a little over 2,800 yards, and they've picked up the passing game a little bit. It's up to about 747 yards passing for 7 touchdowns against 6 interceptions. So a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of the scoring portion of that. Of course, they're going to lean heavily on their 2 junior running backs in Stanford Lipscomb and Alex Brandon. Lipscomb comes in leading the team with 1,174 yards and an area high 18 touchdowns. That includes an average of just over 10 yards per carry. He got banged up a little bit in the Blacksburg game, but seems to be no worse for the wear and should be ready to go Friday. He's, of course, joined in the backfield by fellow junior Alex Brandon, who's run for 965 yards and 11 touchdowns, despite missing about 2.5 games due to an ankle injury earlier this year. Keys for GW, just do what you do. When it comes to this time of the year, it's about executing to the top level of your ability to execute what you do well. And I think that's true for GW, and they need to do it for 4 quarters. They need to come out and play with some energy. Those of you that watched the Blacksburg game last week know that Blacksburg was at the GW2 just before the close of the first half with a chance to tie the game. I think largely GW just kind of didn't come out with the energy that they needed to. Maybe they made some mistakes and they took Blacksburg a little lightly. I don't know. I'm not trying to read into what the players' minds were. But if it wasn't for a 98-yard pick six by Antonio Matos there as the first half closed, they might have gone into the break tied 14-14 with 5-5 Blacksburg. I'm not knocking the Bruins at all. I just think GW did not play a good first half against Blacksburg. You can't do that this stage of the playoffs. You can't do that against battle-tested teams, in particular against the reigning regional champion, Sherando. So they're going to have to play with energy, play 4 quarters, do best what they do. And I think also limit penalties a little bit. I know Eagle fans, you think you don't always get a fair shake when it comes to that, and maybe so. I'm not going to argue whether the refs are correct or incorrect. But last week we had some dead ball penalties were happening. Those aren't in-play things where somebody might not have seen something correctly. These are after-the-play penalties, and we need to see GW eliminate those if at all possible. And then, of course, the Achilles heel all year is minimizing big plays on the back end. If GW does that, if they just don't give up the big passing plays and they make Sherando go down the field and work for it, I think they'll be really good shape. Can Sherando stop that vaunted GW running game? I don't know. I know that, again, that they're tested, they're physical, they're probably going to be more aggressive in the box and make GW throw the ball, as I would. So we'll see how this one goes. I would give GW a little bit of an edge this year. Maybe not last year as Sherando was on its run to the regional championship game. I might give GW a slight edge, but they're going to have to really work for it. And as I mentioned before, Region 4D, there's not really any daylight between those 4 teams, between GW, Sherando, Handley, and Jefferson Forest. Let me tell you something, folks. It's going to be a great night to be out at the football games. The kids need your energy. They need your voice in the stands behind them. It makes a big difference. And just for yourself even, there's nothing quite like a Friday night playoff game. We're in the semifinal round of regional play. I'm going to get a little bit of rain tonight being Thursday into Friday morning, but it's only like 1/10 of an inch or so. Shouldn't have any rain for game time. So the field surface should be good. Should be a great, cool night for football. Get out there and root on your favorite team.